Happy Friday, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Once again, you're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web. I'm your host, Jeremiah Fox. Today, in the beautiful, newly renovated, reopened Gregor Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Academy in the beautiful area of Brooklyn Bridge Park in Brooklyn, right here on the waterfront. We're looking out at the harbor, the ferries passing by. Arguably, definitely the nicest academy I've ever been in, but definitely the best view from an academy I've ever seen.
Yes,
so
that's for sure.
It's really lovely. Before we kick it off today, the message of the week, this comes from Grandmaster Helio Gracie. He said, "Jiu-Jitsu is like a philosophy. It helps me learn how to face life." And we're going to talk about some of the challenges that have come across, especially for the Jiu-Jitsu community over the last year and a half. Gregor here is no stranger to battles and adversity and tough opponents. Before we get started, I've wanted to do this for so long. Do you mind? Would it be inappropriate if I did like a proper Bernardo Faria, BJJ Fanatics?
No, not at all.
What's up, guys? So glad, such an honor for me today to have Gregor Gracie here. Thank you so much for coming on. I wanted to do that forever. Thank you. Just had to. Now we can continue. I had to get that out of my system. I was a little nervous. I didn't know. What if you said no?
No,
I'd be like, shit. All right.
I think it's funny. Bernardo's an amazing guy.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's awesome.
And like those videos are so great because like he's so happy, just like all the time, and then he just gets the shit beat out of him.
But it's not only for the videos. He's always like that.
Yeah.
You know? Every time you see him, he's amazing, good mood. He's an incredible guy. He just became a father.
Yeah.
He's married with my cousin. So
right.
It's amazing for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we'll talk about that in a little while. You got one on the way too.
Yes.
Which is probably, you think the last year and a half was tough.
Yeah, so I heard.
yeah, no, it's great. So let's start off by talking about your first academy, which was just a couple doors down, right? It was,
yes.
Or was it part of this?
No, it
space?
was two stores down that way, towards the corner. It was a lot smaller. We opened in September of 2018.
Okay.
So we had that running for like 2 years and a half, basically, before it closed down. It was a great experience. It was my first time pretty much running my own gym. I learned a lot from it. It was great. It was great to step into the neighborhood, meet all the new students and so on. And like I said, it was an amazing learning experience. And now we've upgraded a little bit. little bit. So what made you choose like this area? Because it's gorgeous, and the waterfront here is pretty new construction anyways. I mean, I think about 10 years ago, none of this was here. It was all, abandoned docks and stuff like that. And so they really rebuilt this, but you're kind of secluded in a way. If you just step like 30 yards that way, there's no more apartments. Yeah.
There's no more people. What was it that attracted you to this area in terms of opening an academy?
So when I started looking, it actually took me a really long time to find the space. We were looking for like almost 8 months before we found this place. So actually, initially I started looking Park Slope.
Okay.
That's where I wanted to open initially.
Good neighborhood.
But it was really hard to find a space, especially for a jiu-jitsu gym. We found some spaces, but it was a lot of corners, a lot of columns. Was either one or the other, or was like maybe it was too big or too small. It was.
Or too expensive.
Yes. Or some, like you just had to make like a huge construction. So it wasn't on the right time to open there. And our broker at the time, she started telling us about different areas. So we started actually looking all over Brooklyn. And finally she showed me this place. We walked in. When I saw the view, I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. That was like what really caught my eye was the view. And then I started researching a little bit more about the neighborhood. I saw it was a really nice neighborhood. So I thought it was a good time, a good place to open, and we kicked it off.
Nice. So you had about a year and a half before everything shut down.
Yes.
In
Yeah.
the
2 years and
a little bit more. What month did you say?
September 18.
Okay, gotcha. So long enough to get established a little bit and develop a student body, but that's rather short lifespan for a business. What was going through your head when they first, like March 13th, 2020, when they were like, things are not looking good, we're gonna have to start shutting things down? What was like your initial response?
Well, initially I thought, okay, they're gonna close for 2 weeks and
Right.
everything's gonna be back and running. It's not that bad. I need a vacation anyway. So I wasn't too worried in the beginning, and then as it kept delaying, the process, the lockdown, everything, I'm like, okay, this is getting serious. But I think that's one good thing about Jiu-Jitsu. Jiu-Jitsu is I think it kind of mimics life a lot of times. And one of the beauties about Jiu-Jitsu, it teaches us to stay calm under pressure. And I just thought about the best solution that we could have. I talked to my landlord. He was actually very understanding.
Nice.
So that helped us a lot. And we shut down and just waiting for the right time. I said, when the right time comes, I'll reopen and keep going forward. And they used to have a kids place on this. It was a kids program. It's called Everyday Athlete. And they shut down their location. They used to have 3 locations, I believe, in Brooklyn, and they shut down all of them. I think they had a fight with their partners or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so the guy my landlord ended up offering me this place. And he made a really good deal. So I said, why not?
Nice.
So I think sometimes bad things come and some good things can come out of those bad things. If you stay calm and wait for the right opportunity to strike, good things can happen.
Yeah, I want to come back to that, like the transition from there to here in a little bit. But going back to what you were talking about, you beautifully segued into the Jujitsu mentality, and that's why I chose that quote from Helio because that became my understanding of Jiu-Jitsu. Like it always turned into like a 3-pronged approach for me, where I was initially attracted to it for the fitness. I was like, I want to be nice and strong, and then you learn the self-defense aspects, and it's like, okay, this is good for me too. But the thing that most people don't see, and I didn't, was the mental fortitude that you get from it. I've heard many people say Jiu-Jitsu is actually 80% mental, 20% physical. And when you look at it, it doesn't look that way, right? You see guys rolling around, and everybody's sweating, but it's really a thinking man's martial art. And I'd love to hear you talk a little bit more, especially like you grew up like Gracie family, Jiu-Jitsu day one. Just the mental toughness you get. I mean, you really described it like the way I think of Jiu-Jitsu. Like Jiu-Jitsu was really formed by smaller guys dealing with bigger opponents, and you have to wait for those opportunities, right? Because sometimes that guy, I don't know, you're bigger than me. I'm a little guy. I get on the bottom a lot. Every time Mark Moreno looks at me, someone's on my back. And he just looks at me, and I'm like, yeah, well, here we are again. I get out. I escape a lot, but
that's good. That's good.
That's good. Step number one. But the idea of being patient and looking for an opportunity, and how like you could be in a really bad position, but if they're not paying attention, you could turn their dominant position into a really, really amazing position for you. So what are some of the other things that just from growing up in Jiu-Jitsu and it being such a part of your life helped you get through? Just for people that are listening, that are like, maybe they thought about Jiu-Jitsu, maybe they're in business as well, and they're like, man, this has been really tough for me. I don't know where to go. What are just some of the core values in your mind that you think Jiu-Jitsu could offer somebody that doesn't train?
I believe Jiu-Jitsu can offer so many different things according to each person differently. For a kid, it's gonna offer him a lot of confidence. For him to just walk around. And I had so many kids that came in here, they could barely look at you while they're speaking, and towards the end they're shaking hands, they're looking in the eye, they're like they completely change. So I think you can, depending of the each person can offer you a different thing. And but most important is just dealing with troubles, because that's basically what jiu-jitsu is. As we're training, I'm trying to do a move on you, and you're trying to do a move on me, and that's causing me a problem, and I'm trying to cause a problem for you. And that's what life is dealing with problems and solving them on the best way as possible. It's not just trying to run through your problems or run away from it. Here in jiu-jitsu, we have to deal with those, and not only deal, but deal looking for the best solution for it. So I think that's one of the things that helps a lot with life and jiu-jitsu. Plus, all my students, you know, they tell me the same thing. It's one of the best therapies that we can get.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I always joke my students, doesn't matter what big of a problem you have, when you're here on the mats and somebody's on top of you trying to choke you, you're forgetting about everything else and you're focused on that. So I think it's a very good for the mental health. You know, a lot of times you go out for exercise in the gym or a light jog, and if you have that problem, you're going to be constantly thinking about that problem.
Right.
Once you're on the mat, you're 100% focused on the mat. You know, you're not carrying your cell phone, you're not getting message alerts. You're just here for 1 hour, just focus on what you're doing. And I think that's it's very good for your health.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. And I would have never made it through, like, I have, you know, restaurants and other businesses, and we never would have survived this if I hadn't daily had that practice. I would have burned them down well before the pandemic. But then once the pandemic set in, it was certainly like the fuel for me. I just knew, you know, it wasn't even a question. It's the same, you know, like I thought it was going to be like a couple weeks, you know.
Yeah.
I always tell people, like, if someone would have told me on March 10th, your restaurant's going to be takeout only for 3 months, then for 3 months after that, you can only seat outside, and then for the next year, we don't know what's going to happen. If someone asked me how long I thought we would survive, I'd say 2 weeks. That's it. But I didn't. Nobody knew, and I just kept every day getting up and facing those problems. You know, like there was no backing down. I had families relying on me. You know, they would be put out on the street and everything, and I just relied on those martial arts messages. You know, and kept training too. Which helped, because you needed that therapy right at that time. It was crazy, and like we pulled through remarkably, and not dissimilar from yourself. We're in a much better position now, and I think like 80% of that is because of jiu-jitsu. It's been really great.
Yeah, it's I believe a lot of life. It's how you deal with it. We all have problems, you know, and you can make the problem a really big deal, or you can, okay, I have this problem, let's see how I'm gonna solve it. And a lot of times it's how you deal with things, it's gonna make a big difference.
Yeah.
So and I think martial arts itself, that helps a lot. And I think this year was a terrible year that passed. It caused a lot of problems, especially for a lot of kids without having to go to school.
Yeah.
And so I believe now more than any time before, this is the most important time for kids to jump on the martial arts. Not kids, but everybody, you know. Yeah. It showed that with the COVID, it showed like how much our health is fragile. If you don't take care of it, you know, it doesn't matter. Sometimes it's not the medicine that's going to save you. It's just being healthy, you know. Yeah. So I believe it showed us a lot of how important we need to take care of ourselves and our body.
Yeah, very cool. We're going to pick back up with that in just a minute. We'll be back, everybody. Hang tight. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. Once again, you're listening to the Entrepreneurial Web. I'm your host, Jeremiah Fox, here today with the amazing Gregor Gracie. Once again, thank you for taking the time out. It's a very busy man. Recently expanded. He's had a school along the Brooklyn Bridge Park waterfront since 2018, and like everything else, particularly, I said the last two things that are going to come back are going to be Broadway and jiu-jitsu, because jiu-jitsu is the opposite of social distancing, right? We want to get close to you. We want to be ear to ear, preferably chest to chest, chest to back. So the fate of jiu-jitsu was like really fragile, right? We were all like, oh shit, what's going to happen? Because the guys that love jiu-jitsu do it every day. It's not just the thing you do to work out. It, like, for me, you know, it took over my life. Like second class, I remember I went to my first class, and the owner of the school I was at, neighboring businesses, they were opening the school while we were opening our restaurant, and he's like, you should come in, and I'm like, kind of busy right now. He's like, you should come in. I was like, all right. So I came in, and I was like, wow, that was really cool. And I came to the second class, and I was like, all right, I got to adjust my schedule. Like, this is it.
That's
this
amazing.
is it. So, it takes over your life, and you kind of feel like you can't live without it. So we were all like really concerned about like how long is this going to last.
Yeah.
We squeezed it out before Broadway. They opened everything back up. Just was last week you opened or this week, July 5th.
Yes.
You opened up. That was. Were you able to open prior to that, or was that like the day they said? I know with restaurants it was just like.
No, we were able to open. I was actually doing construction on this new place, so that's why I didn't open a little bit before. But we were able to open. But it was good. It was a good time. I was worried for a while with that as well. I thought we were gonna have to become like some underground clubs, those like fight clubs.
Yeah.
Secret club. They knock on the door and the bouncer is, what's the secret code? Okay, you can come in, do jiu-jitsu.
Yep. I went to a few of those. I hosted a few of those myself. Yeah. Well, we squeezed through. You do what you have to do. So now I want to talk about your expansion, and what's remarkable to me is that, unfortunately, besides lives that were lost, many businesses were lost because of the pandemic, and at a lot of martial arts schools, not just jiu-jitsu, but particularly jiu-jitsu because of the nature of the close contact. I know some schools that focus on striking arts were even able to open as far back as last September, when the state allowed gyms to open back up. So some of these schools that didn't require close contact or partner work necessarily were able to open up in a modified fashion and do fitness and work on bags, doing solo drills, and it was not the same for jiu-jitsu, and a lot of schools that were predominantly jiu-jitsu or jiu-jitsu only, unfortunately, have closed, and no sign of them coming back. And you did the opposite. You expanded, which is really remarkable. You mentioned earlier that the landlord was very accommodating, and that's huge, because I think a lot of people. I mean, I know some schools, two in particular that I was close to the to the owners. That it was the landlord that was ultimately what nailed drove the last nail in the coffin, and they were just like, fuck you, pay me, or I'm going to sue you. And I know one place, even the landlord was like, if I even see people going into your building, I'm going to report you. And it's like, but you want me to pay rent at the same time, like how does that work?
Yeah, it's impossible for any business to pay rent and not operate.
Not make money.
It's possible. Unfortunately, a lot of landlords didn't cooperate with the businesses. It's sad to see so many gyms closed. I believe jiu-jitsu is really important for everybody. The more gyms there are out there, the better it will be for everybody. Some people think, oh no, I don't want. It's good to have just one gym on the area. I don't believe that. I think there's plenty of people all over the place. There's a lot of students that want to train. And the more gyms, the more people know about jiu-jitsu, and the more people will train jiu-jitsu. So
true.
It's sad to see all those gyms close down. And
it is. And a lot of them were family-owned businesses. They were just like small businesses, like local, bodegas or small restaurants. And there wasn't a lot of support. I know personally, like my restaurant, we got squat. I think we got nothing last year. We finally got a little bit of assistance. I mean, a little bit in April of this year. So for the first 13 months, we just squeaked it out on our own, which was crazy. So in your expansion, and you don't have to, I'm not necessarily asking for like financial information. You're welcome to share that if you want. I'm thinking more in terms of like strategy. This is a show about entrepreneurship, and there's a lot of guys out there who are either thinking about this, that are like, man, I want to break out into my own business, and I know it's risky, or people that have a business right now and they want to expand, but they're like, maybe they're gun shy, they don't know what to do, and they're, especially over the last year, like, shit, man, there's this opportunity, but like, do I take this now? How did you guys go from like a smaller space to a bigger space when everybody else around you is closing down? It's crazy to me. And like a beautiful, I mean, this is like checking into a hotel. I mean, I'll show the bathroom at some point, because it's like mind blowing. It's amazing.
I think everywhere there's opportunities. You know, especially on the hard times is the time. It's when there's more opportunities than the good times.
True.
We actually had the gym. It was my previous gym was 1250 square feet, so it was small, so very small compared to this one. This one's a little bit over 4,000. And we were open for 2.5 years, and school grew a lot along those years. And there was a point that I was already thinking about expansion. I wanted to grow. That I almost was able to take the store next to mine. It was a coffee shop that left for a while, but when I decided to talk to the landlord, they already had to close a deal with another coffee shop, so it didn't work out. But I was already thinking about this, and so COVID came, everything shut down, a lot of places went out of business, and this opportunity happened. Was, to tell you the truth, was if I could get a little bit smaller, I would have. You know, but again, I truly believe in Jiu-Jitsu. I believe in my work. I believe in what we have to offer, and I think it will be a matter of time before the space is packed. And
yeah, we're gonna pack this place. Don't worry. If it was smaller, then you couldn't have the lounge with the bearskin rug on the floor. I mean,
exactly.
It's a really nice, yeah. So this was something on your radar already. You'd already had discussions with the landlord. It was a move you wanted to make. And you saw the opportunity, and you were just like, we got to go.
Yes, exactly. I think sometimes we overthink things too much. You know, of course, it's important to be conscious on the steps you take, but a lot of times people see an opportunity and they overthink too much, and they don't end up moving forward. And then once they pass, they regret that for a really long time. I believe that. Once we see an opportunity, if we believe it and things make sense, we just have to go forward and figure out along the way. Sometimes fix one thing here, fix one thing there, but like I said, I believe if you do honest and good work, things would work out.
Yeah. And
just gotta go.
So it's one thing to you've fought at the highest level in MMA. You continue to do so, and are you going to do any more MMA fights, or is that?
No,
that guy's going to be a dad, so you got to. Yeah. But you still continue to compete at the highest level in jiu-jitsu, teaching. Like, at what point did you realize that you wanted your own school? And what was it like when you started to understand the business aspects? I mean, were you interested in business before? Because once you get in, right? Once you sign the lease, it's like, oh, that.
Yeah, while I was fighting professionally, it was very hard for me. I didn't really think about the school. It was I was fighting MMA. The training is brutal.
Yeah.
I was in the gym training all day. I didn't have energy to focus on any other thing, so I didn't want to open something and not be present or not run it the way I think it should run. So I always put that aside, and when I stopped fighting MMA, it was something that I never planned, but it kind of happened.
Okay.
So I thought about, okay, maybe it's time for me to start expanding and my legacy a little bit, opening gyms and so on. So and I always like to read a lot, and one of the things I like to read a lot is business books and things like that. So I think I like to think that I always had like a open mind for these things, and so I think that helped me with the transition as well to open and start my own business. So it was something that kind of happened naturally. But it was good.
But there was always like a little side interest.
Yes, I always knew I was going to have my gym.
Okay.
It was something that I always knew I was going to have and teach, because this is something I want to do for the rest of my life. When I have nothing to do, I go to the gym, and I like to spend time training on the mats with my friends. Like on the last year, I competed in like 4 tournaments back to back almost. It was actually 5 tournaments in 4 months. So I hadn't competed like this in such a long time. I was training a lot. and I won the Pan Ams, I won the Worlds. And after that, right away from the Worlds, I went straight to Brazil. It was like late December. And I remember just after the next day, my body's all sore. I'm like, oh my God, thank God I'm going on vacation. I'm not going to put the gi on for such a long time. I got to Brazil 2 days after. I'm wearing the gi with my cousins training. You know? So it's I can't help it. I love this. I love being on the mats and training and with my friends. So it's something that I want to do for the rest of my life. So I knew I wanted to have a place to be, to teach, to have my students. You know, it's something very gives a lot of pleasure also to see a guy coming in with all sorts of problems. You know, a guy that can't look you in the face, and in a couple of months he completely changes his attitude, and him getting better, feeling better, and just seeing that the person grow as a person, as an athlete, as you know, a friend, as everything. So it's a very nice business to have, and you know.
Well, I can tell you're passionate about it, and that's, I think, a really important takeaway. Like, if you're going to jump deep into something, especially that involves a lease, you know, you have to be passionate about it, because it's going to knock you around a little bit, and there are times where money's not great, and if that's all you're focused on, those are the people that will just like walk away. You know, they'll just, like you said earlier, they'll run from their problems. But when you're passionate about it, when you care about it that much, you're gonna go for it. You're gonna give it everything you have, and that's I think the people that survive.
Yeah.
You know, the businesses that survive, it's just like they're pot committed no matter what. You're not knocking me off this pedestal.
Yes,
you know?
that's true. I agree with you. Doesn't matter what happened, I will always have a place here.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna fight the hardest to always keep this place. And I believe that transitions to the business. You know, when when you have the passion, it can grow a lot more. People can see that.
Yeah.
One thing is just jumping in there just to make a quick buck and get out.
Right.
I believe the students, the customers, whatever kind of business you're on, that always translate to that.
Yeah, they're gonna sniff it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, big time. All right, let's take one more break, and then I want to come back and talk about what programs you're going to have here and the offerings for the community. All right, so hang tight, everybody. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back again. Entrepreneurial Web, Jeremiah Fox here. We're talking with Gregor Gracie at his new academy, or reopened, upgraded academy in Brooklyn Bridge Park here. Lots of new things coming down the pipe, right? Your old school, did you offer striking?
No,
courses?
I didn't.
So one thing that was really impressive the other day was the Muay Thai demonstration. Everybody was like, "Woo, ah, ah." So what all are you going to be doing here?
We have the old academy. We used to have only Jiu-Jitsu. We have for adults, for kids, for all sorts of kids. We have divided them by age group, so we don't have like a really young kid with training with an older kid. So we have 3 age groups: 3 to 6, 7 to 10, and 11 to 14.
Okay.
And but now we also added Muay Thai. I know of the Muay Thai guys for a really long time. They run the program in the city, and they're incredible guys. Not only I wanted to add the striking to the academy, but I believe they fit the academy profile. You know, the way they are, their character, they're always smiling, they're always friendly with everybody.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're gonna come in here and they're gonna try to beat you up, or you know, they want to see the student grow. And this happens in a lot of gyms. People, even the instructors, you know, a lot of times they want to prove themselves.
Yeah.
And they end up trying to prove themselves with the students and things like that, and you know, kind of showing off. And so that's why I was happy to bring them, because I believe they fit perfectly with the community. And I'm excited to see. Yesterday we had already kids Muay Thai class. You know,
oh, nice.
We had a couple kids. We had 3 kids. Was the first class. The kids loved it. So it was great to see them.
So we got adult jiu-jitsu, kids jiu-jitsu, broken up into different age groups. Adult Muay Thai and kids Muay Thai?
Exactly.
Nice.
And we're actually looking to add yoga as well.
Yeah. Good.
Okay, so we don't have that on the schedule yet. We're just seeing when it's going to fit better, but we're definitely going to...
Like right after jiu-jitsu, right? Because that's when you're the most...
Yeah, that would
be
be
the most
great.
limber.
Yeah, we're gonna add a couple of different classes in the mornings. Also, we're still studying what's gonna be the best time, but we're definitely gonna have yoga very shortly.
Nice, that's great. And I want to ask you too. I mean, we mentioned earlier you're going to be a father soon. What role does like the community play in what you decide to do here and the offerings that you have? I mean, there's schools that I've been to schools that are just like competition. That's all they do. I've been to schools that they're only community based and it's just a bunch of families and stuff like that. And then some that have like a mix. How does it play into the way what you're going to offer here?
Yeah, every class is a little different. The kids class is definitely to help build the kids' confidence, to learn self-defense, which I believe is something very important. And I believe now big problem nowadays is bully.
Yeah.
And the fact that if somebody's getting bullied, or even the guy that's the bully, it's a lack of confidence, And so I think the martial arts itself, and especially Jiu-Jitsu, it helps a lot with that. If I'm confident enough, I don't need to prove myself. It's what we were talking about before with some other martial arts. And this is some people that they lack the confidence of know they're good enough, and I don't have to pick on you. So it's Jiu-Jitsu helps a lot with that. And I already had a couple of things that happened with some fathers that came to me and told me some stories. Mm-hmm. And this is very fulfilling. When I hear things like that, I get super happy. It's amazing, and this is one of the reasons why I do what I do. So a lot of times people, you want to make a world champion. If one day that happens, it's great. But just to see a kid getting better, improving, and having more confidence in himself, I think it's more fulfilling than just sometimes making a champion or something like that.
Just like I won. Yeah. And it's interesting that it's that same confidence. Like if it's instilled early enough, that's the kid that's going to go on and be like the high flyer at work, or run his own business and have no problem when like the crazy shit comes down, or like the next CEO or president or whoever, whatever. Like it all falls back on that confidence, right? Like we were talking about earlier, just like trying to deal with all the stuff that you have to deal with when you sign the lease and your name is on the paper. Like it gets rough, right?
Yeah, I think the world is it's a lot of competition, and this is something that we learn how to deal with early age in Jiu-Jitsu. We're competing with each other. We're trying to we're not only competing with each other, but we're making each other better.
Right.
So it's not like it's somebody one's rival, but you understand that if one day you get taken down or you lose one match, it's not the end of the road. You're gonna get back on your feet and you're gonna keep training. And I think you learn a lot to deal with defeat and win, and even if you win, you're not on top of the world, and once you lose, you're not on the bottom of it. So that's one great thing about Jiu-Jitsu. We learn that really young.
Yeah, and it is a reflection of life, as you mentioned earlier, because like you come in one day and you're feeling good, and you get this guy, and you tap him out. You're like, yeah, all right, I got it. The next day, he could flip it on you real quick, right? And all of a sudden you're like, man, I thought I was there. And it's it just reminds you, it's like the massive humility, always reminds you that you've always got work to do, right? You can always get better. And you said it, like we're helping each other, as we're doing this, like the rising tide lifts all boats. So yesterday morning in Midtown, I rolled with this guy. It was the last match of the class, and he was a blue belt, and right afterwards he got his purple belt. So I got his last roll as a blue belt, and nobody knew he was getting promoted. It wasn't a belt ceremony or anything. Mike just like yanked it out, and that's like, it was a really special feeling. Like I felt like a part of that came to me too, because I was going to compliment him. He was like putting everything together so well. I was like, man, he's like listening and he's really doing it. And I was getting ready to say that, and Mike was like, all right, everybody come here, listen up. And Mike said the same exact thing. And it made me feel like I was in the right place. by being a part of that. And I think that's one of the things, like tying back in the idea of community into jiu-jitsu. Like when you're at a school that has that feeling, like everybody walks out feeling better. Like, yeah, you have some bad days. You walk off you feel a little beaten. But like I think in general across the board, it really elevates the morale of everybody in the room.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like Henzo says, you know, one day we're the hammer, the next day we're the nail, and we move on. But
I'm still waiting to be the hammer. After just like my head is rolling. My head is a little flat on stuff these days.
But it's great, you know. Jiu-Jitsu teaches a lot of humility, to be humble. Sometimes you walk in the mat, you see somebody, you say, "Oh, this guy is nothing," and then you roll him, and
he was just being nice.
It changes your mind. It's but so that's great. Not to judge people by their look or something like that. We learned how to treat everyone with respect, and it's a great community to be around, and everybody's so caring from each other, and it bonds us with people more than anything else that I ever experienced. It's something that you have to have a lot of trust on your training partner as you're training with them. If we're training, you get me on an arm lock, I trust you completely that if I tap, you're gonna let go and not hurt me. So we have these things that help to create such a strong bond. That's it's hard to describe if you never train.
Yeah, it's really that you nailed it with like that commitment and trust. You're loaning your body to somebody, and when you have a room full of people that develop that, and everybody has that trust and that knowledge that we're gonna take care of each other. It looks brutal, but it's really gentlemanly and nice. It just changes the outcome, I think, of the entire community. It just like spills over into everything else, and like especially you start getting like the other business owners training, and then they start treating their customers the same way, and they're like. It's amazing to watch it spread like good bacteria.
Yes. Yes.
Not like the bad one. Not like the bad one. One last question before we take another break. How does like you guys have a very active, especially Instagram account? I haven't really looked anywhere else, but like you guys do a really great job on social media. How important has the marketing been for like getting people? You did a really great job of building the awareness prior to opening up. Do you guys use an outsourced company, or you guys do it all yourself?
No, we've been doing all ourselves. I have a partner, it's Rodrigo. He used to work a little bit of this back in Brazil.
Oh, okay.
So he's been doing everything. He's amazing at that.
It's really fantastic. Yeah, I was like, this is professional.
Yeah, nice. If it was for me, we would be in trouble because on that part of the business, I'm terrible.
Be like two pictures, like sideways. And everything. Yeah. Cool. All right, we're going to take one more quick break and come back for the last segment. We'll be right back, everybody. Before we hop back into the show, I just wanted to share with all of you the view here from Brooklyn Bridge Park. This is directly from the front door of Gregor Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Stunning view of New York Harbor. There's still some scaffolding covering the front. That's going to be gone soon. Once you enter these doors, it's a whole new world. It's one of the most stunning, most amazing Jiu-Jitsu academies you're going to find in New York City. From inside here, this is from the mat looking out. So as you're getting strangled, you're at least getting a good view. And again, once that scaffolding comes down, more stunning views. The facility is about 5,000 square feet, and the majority of that is mat space. You can see here, these are some scenes from his grand reopening just the other day. It was a slice of jiu-jitsu history. You can see on the wall here the pictures above, some of the patriarchs, and these are some of their children and grandchildren that are having their picture taken. So it was really amazing to be a part of this and get the chance to interview Gregor again here. You can see patriarchs, Carlos Sr. and Helio, along with Hall's son Hollis pictured here, and Gregor is his half-brother. More footage from the grand reopening and packed class. Really amazing to be surrounded by so many Gracies, so many black belts, so many people from their community that really developed something great. Again, another picture here of just the lineage where Gregor's coming from, including Carlos Jr. and Helio Gracie, and as promised, a video of this amazing bathroom. All right, we're gonna get back to the show. Enjoy the rest. All right, everybody, we're back. We're gonna wrap this up. Last set, let's make it our best. I'm curious about just like your thoughts and opinions on Jiu-Jitsu going forward. I mean, you're part of this like crazy legacy that like started it all off. And I've studied like the generations, and you and a number of others are kind of like the front runners now of this like most recent generation of Jiu-Jitsu, and being in the Gracie family. What do you think? Where do you think it's going? I mean, now there's obvious like people are a little freaked out about it. Tournaments have had to be altered and everything. Do you think it's all just going to open back up? Do you think it's going to be stronger? Do you think we're going to have to get a little crazy in Fight Club-ish?
No, I believe it's going to get stronger. I think Jiu-Jitsu is definitely going to keep growing a lot. If you look at 5 years, 10 years ago, and how much you've grown since then, it's unbelievable. People are starting to know a lot more about Jiu-Jitsu. Jiu-Jitsu has been growing everywhere in the world. It's not only here. So it's like we talked about previously. It's an amazing sport. It's a great exercise for your mind, for your physical health, for everything. It's an incredible sport, and so I think it's only going to grow as people start to understand more. We still don't know. A lot of people don't know about Jiu-Jitsu. Sometimes I have some parents stopping by here, and it's like, oh, what is this? You guys do karate?
I know.
And
Everybody says that. You do karate, right?
Jiu-Jitsu, but once people really start to understand the benefits, I think it's only going to grow a lot more and more and more and keep growing. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen in the future, but it's definitely going to be a lot bigger than what it is right now.
And do you have hopes for opening other schools? You have a school also in like near Bayside or something like that?
Yes, I do have one in Oceanside.
Oceanside.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a friend of mine. He used to be my old student, and he moved there. He has like a MMA gym.
Okay.
And so he invited me to start the Jiu-Jitsu program inside his gym.
Gotcha.
So it's not like my own gym, but I have a Jiu-Jitsu program inside his gym. I brought one of my friends from Brazil. He's a good friend of mine. He's an amazing black belt, so he's there full time teaching. So I have that and this, but yes, I plan to have more gyms in the future. I want to keep growing. I want to keep spreading this, and just let's see what it takes us.
Yeah, and then you're. If I understand it correctly, you're like running the competition team at Hinzo's?
Yes, I am. I run the competition team there, and that's also growing a lot. As we talked about how sometimes bad things can happen and good things can come out of it. That was one of them, the competition team. Before we had 15 people, the most, and we used to go to a tournament, 5 guys who go to compete.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people were aware of their health now, and they want to improve, and they want to be a little bit more. They want to be healthier. Period. So a lot of people started training more, harder, and last tournament we took 65 guys to Miami.
Right?
To compete. So I mean, it's incredible. Before we used to have 5 guys going to Boston. Now we have 65 flying down to Florida. So it shows how much you grow, and it's been incredible. It's just I hope it keeps growing, keeps getting better,
and the team as a team you all took second, right?
Yes, we did take second, and it's incredible, to have a single gym because there's a lot of gyms that combine all the athletes.
Yeah.
So the team that took first, Gracie Barra, it's a huge franchise. They have schools all over. And they have more than double the athletes than we have. So we had like 65, they had 130, and even though it was very close on points wise.
Nice.
So it's amazing. It shows us that we're doing a great job.
Yeah.
Points for athlete, we had the most by far in the whole tournament. So that was incredible.
Very cool. Very cool. Before we wrap up here, I just want you to let everybody know like information about the school, address, phone number, whatever you want to say, however you want people to get in contact.
Yes, we are in 135 Bridge Park Drive. It's on the waterfront here in Brooklyn, between the volleyball court and the soccer field. It's we can check us on the Instagram also, Gregor Gracie Jiu Jitsu, and that's it. Come check us out. Come try a free class. I'm guarantee you're gonna like it. It's gonna change your life.
So you guys are doing free trials?
Yes, we do free trials. You can call ahead, send us a message on Instagram, email. It's info@gregorgracie.com, and show up, come train.
And it's right, if you're on the BQE, it's right off the Atlantic Avenue exit. Just go towards the water, literally.
Exactly.
Right there.
Or you can get off at Burger Hall from train stations. Pretty much every train station stops there.
Right. A little bit of a walk, but it's a good warm-up.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of warm-up, we're about to train. We're about to get this popping. Thank you so much for coming on, man.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it. Now I'm going to go get my ass kicked a little bit. We've got to turn the camera off. I don't want you guys to see that. So you guys have a great week. We'll see you next week, everybody. Peace out.